I believe from my experience that the what is a bridge is the most confusing thing about the MikroTik router. And I'll show you why here in this little lesson. In this lesson, you'll understand what a bridge is, what its component parts consist of, and how to add a new one. So let's get started. First of all, if you go back here and you look at your home AP, it says our current network is this range of addresses. If we look at CPE, it shows that my telco router has an address right here, 55.1. So that's my telco router, and I just want you to be aware of that. I'll put this back to home AP. Second thing I want to look at is the interface list. So we have interfaces here. The interfaces, you notice it shows that Ether1, these are Ether products, and it talks about these bridges and what they're assigned to, but it makes more sense if you look right here. Right here, if you notice that LAN assignment is to bridge, and I assigned this new one, bridge 1 Wi-Fi, and then the WAN is Ether 1. So what does all that mean? Well, look over here for a moment, this drawing. We'll blow it up a little bit. Notice that the bridge is OA6242. In other words, that's the bridge, and it's also Ether port 2. It's also called a LAN, L-A-N. This LAN was assigned by the switch. The switch knows that's called LAN. That's what this LAN is referring to. It's not referring to the LAN network of IP addresses. It's not that at all. It's this internal switch name assigned to Ether 2. So when I say that this bridge, this LAN is connected to the bridge, what I'm saying is the bridge is connected to that port, which is LAN port. Same way with the one I just created recently. You notice the LAN, it says bridge 1 Wi-Fi is connected to the LAN port, not the LAN network as we usually think. So that's the first terminology problem you run into. Okay, the second problem has to do with bridge ports. If we bring up bridges, we notice we have two bridges. We've got the default bridge, and we've got the bridge I added. I added this bridge. And it does allow me to make a comment. So this will be a new Wi-Fi bridge. So this is the default configuration bridge which came out of the factory. And if you look at the bridge, you notice it's just bridge stuff. It tells you its MAC address and various things. We don't want to change any of this. By the way, if you don't like fast forward, this is where you take it out, right there. So we're going to cancel that. What's important here are the ports. And these ports apply to all the bridges, not just one that's highlighted or another one that's highlighted. These ports apply to all the bridges. If you notice that my WLAN 1 has been assigned to bridge 1 Wi-Fi, whereas Ether 2 is on bridge, Ether 3 is on bridge, Ether 4 is on bridge, Ether 5 is on bridge. Just like over here, you notice Ether 2, 3, 4, 5 are all assigned to this bridge. The asterisk means they're assigned to bridge. So that's the default. Well, we've gone ahead and we've changed the WLAN 1. It's no longer, I say right now it's assigned to the bridge. We've changed that. We've assigned it to a bridge 1 Wi-Fi, which is a different bridge. Another item of interest here is that this chart has a mistake on it. Down here it says the IP address of switch 1. It's the same as the MAC address of WLAN 1, so that's not true. So this is a mistake. Over here is the correct MAC address. It should be this address, 000180C20000. Instead, I mistakenly labeled it out. So that's a mistake on the drawing. And I didn't know enough back then to catch this mistake, but now you and I both understand why that is a mistake. Okay, so we see now how the ports are assigned to various bridges. The bridges are assigned to either a LAN name here or a Wi-Fi WLAN name down here. That's only two choices. Excuse me. It's assigned to LANs, which is just a name for port 2, or they're assigned to the WAN, which is named for Ether1. You notice there's no Ether1 here because that's hard configured by the operating system in the router. The router knows that Ether1 is WAN. So that's why if you go over here and we select this, we only get two choices. The operating system is you're either going to use Ether2 or going to use Ether1. That's the only two things you can use. Those are hard-coded and you can't change those. So just remember, when it says LAN right here, it doesn't really mean our network. It just means this name assigned by the switch, by the operating system to the switch for that port number. Okay, I think I beat that to death. IP addresses. It's the next subject. So basically, interfaces are ways to get into and out of the router. And here, if you notice, we select interface. We have the Ether ports assigned. We have bridges listed, and we have Ether ports listed, and the WAN listed. Those are ways to get in and out of the router. But the interface list is a connectivity issue. In other words, bridge can get out through the LAN and Ether2, and the Ether1 uses that port, the WAN port. So the interface list is a consolidated input-output aspect of the firewall rules. They simplify the things. Now when you look at a bridge, if you notice here under bridge, we have two bridges listed. The bridge basically talks about bridge parameters there, but the bridge really consists of ports that have been assigned to it. This is a form of grouping. This way Ether 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all on the same bridge. They're all on the same network. They can be treated as one entity in your firewall rules, and this is why it's done this way. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. Interfaces consist of physical input and output ports, but they use this list to simplify assignments. And then the bridge is simply a way to group ports, and the ports are assigned to various groupings here. So hopefully this helps clear the air. It's a tough subject, I know. IP addresses. These are simply the networks that are being used. Right now, I've assigned a new Bridge 1 Wi-Fi network, and we have the old network, which is factory default. So if you look at one of these, you notice it has the address of the router. It's got the network address, which always has a 0 on the end, and then what interface that's assigned to. And you have all these choices for interfaces. We assign this one to the Bridge 1 Wi-Fi. Since we created a Bridge 1 Wi-Fi, it now exists, therefore we could assign this network to it. Another thing we must consider is that if we have two networks, we have to have two DHCP servers to serve addresses to those clients on those networks. So here we have DHCP server. We have two of them. We have the default configuration one, which is called Bridge, which you've already talked about up here. And we have the new one, which is called Bridge 1 Wi-Fi. So if we look at those networks for a moment, the new one, you'll notice the things you have to look for here. It needs an address of the network, and it ends in 0 and has slice 24, which is the net mask. You don't have to do it down here. Put a slice 24 up here. And it has the gateway, which is a gateway to that particular network. The surprise comes here in DNS servers. We can't use the DNS server because we don't have a DOH server. Remember our secure DNS server? We don't have a DOH server on network 55. Therefore, we're going to refer all of our DNS requests over to our original 88.1 where the secure DNS server is located. So that's a little bit different. So we click OK, and you notice now that it says that the 55 network has a 55 gateway, but the DNS server is an 88 server. That takes us to our DOH. So that's why that's a little bit different. And then last but not least, you're going to have two networks. You have to have two pool addresses to be used by the network. So here we have the original DEF CON network and a new one I added, So right here, notice it wants a name for the pool, wants an address range for the pool, and I don't know what that means. It's always none. For all those non-believers about land simply being a label, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it. I'm going to change the land name. I'm going to call Ether2 instead of bridge. And what you notice is that by being able to still use this thing, I'm still connected. It didn't matter. Ether2, land, they don't care. Bridge, doesn't matter what you call it. Now what that probably did is it disconnected these other 3 ports from the WAN because they're no longer, they're looking for bridge, and there is no bridge, there's just a Ether2. But the point is, it's simply a label, and I'm going to put the label back so that these other ports become accessible to the internet. So that proves what I was talking about, that it's just a label. Bridge is a label and LAN is a label. They're both labels. And they both point back to port 2, which is address, MAC address 6242. The other thing that's peculiar about this particular lesson is that I randomly picked address 55 from my new network, my bridge network. But if you remember up here, we talked about earlier that my router uses 55 also. So why isn't there a conflict? Well, the reason there's no conflict is down here. The router's out here on this network, and we're in here on this network. So this network doesn't care what's out there. It's not his problem. So I got lucky by unluckily picking the same address 55 group in here that the router is using out there. It doesn't matter. So that's peculiar, but that's reality. So the next 2 videos will demonstrate how to change the address of a given bridge and also how to isolate Wi-Fi users from LAN network users simply by putting them on a different network.